Things Podcast. Hey, Howdymaniacs, welcome to the newest episode of the Needless Things Podcast, where we talk about toys, movies, music, and all manner of pop culture dorkery. I am your host, Dave, and I just recorded that twice because when I said, I am your host, Dave, it sounded weird to me for some reason, but I think everything is a little off tonight because I got called into work earlier today, and it's horrible. We have an issue where we are short-staffed, and also, one of the guys that works in my, I guess you'd say, department is out quite a bit lately for problems that are probably not his fault. So, last week, I had to work an extra day Friday night, which cut into my already short weekend, where normally I would get off Friday morning and be back Monday morning. So I had to work Friday night, so I got off Saturday morning and had to be back Monday morning. And now, during spring break, when I was supposed to be spending today and tomorrow with my family, since my son's out of school. Oh, and also spring break started last Friday, so I missed that day of spending time with my family. And now I have to go into work tomorrow at 5 o'clock in the morning. So not only do I lose my day tomorrow, but tonight, when I probably would have stayed up until like 2 or 3 in the morning, hanging out, watching movies, doing whatever. I have to be in bed. It's not going to be 9 o'clock because I do have to record this week's podcast and produce it and get everything done before I go to bed. But yeah, I lose my night tonight as well. And we were going to go see Shazam tomorrow at 4. Now, fortunately, I bought tickets through Fandango, so I was able to go in and get those refunded and buy a later showtime, but it still sucks because now I'm going straight from work to the theater, and instead of the movie, being back home by like probably 7:30, now I'm going to be getting home at like 9:30, and I have to work all weekend as well as tomorrow. So that's 4 12-hour shifts in a row at a job that is not my favorite thing in the world in the first place. Now, this is responsibility. This is what responsibility is. This is why when our pets get sick, I don't put up a GoFundMe. This is why when you see me on Instagram or whatever, I'm putting up pictures of ridiculous, exorbitant toy expenses and non-necessity type things. All of that is paid for because I go to my job and I do my thing that I don't want to do, but I do it because I'm a grown-up and because when I was young, I was taught dreams are stupid, grow up and get a job. So there you go. That's the life that I have chosen to live. And I got to be honest, most of the time it's not that bad. I've got a great family. I get to have a lot of fun. But this job is just the drizzling shits. But it pays like the drizzling shits, by which I mean it pays as though you are expected to go stand outside while it's literally drizzling shit into your face. Like, it's however much you think somebody would make to have to go and do that every day, that's probably about right. So anyway, on to a happier note. Today's episode is going to be me, our pal Mike Gordon, and our buddy Arian Gulick talking about WrestleMania 35. Now, originally, we were just going to have a typical Needless Things conversation where we would just discuss the card in its entirety. But I do think we can all agree that there's some stuff on the card that's not great. There's some stuff on the card that maybe isn't necessarily not great, but also isn't worthy of all that much conversation, like the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, the Women's Battle Royal. There are things that could very easily be glossed over, and because of the time crunch that I am now in, we will be glossing over a lot. We're going to have a little different format that you guys will hear about once we start talking, and that's the other thing, is I am now recording this right before. Normally what I would do is get Mike and Arian on Skype, record our conversation, and then tomorrow at some point I would have recorded this introduction and then the outro, and then put everything together. That's usually what I do, is I record the meat of the episode, as it were, and then go back and put everything together. But today, I don't have that option because tomorrow I'll be working and then going straight to see Shazam, so there will be no time to do anything else in order to get you guys this podcast by Friday at 11 a.m., when it always posts on needlessthingspodcast.com. So yeah, that's what's up with that, is I'm recording this intro without knowing exactly how the conversation is going to go, but I do know what the format is going to be, and I think you guys will probably appreciate it, because it'll keep this podcast from being 2.5 hours long. I know some of you really enjoy the longer format stuff, but the episodes that are 90 minutes or less tend to get a little more attention, so that I get it. I understand, but at the same time, when we are having a long conversation, I don't want to mess that up. So there you go. That's what's happening there. I am not as excited about this year's WrestleMania as I normally am, although part of that is that I am this working on weekend. I am working this weekend, so I will be coming directly home to WrestleMania. Like, I don't get to sort of have fun party time during the day and then WrestleMania at night. And also now I'm a little nervous about possibly possibly being asked to work Monday, at which point I'm going to have to say, no, it's WrestleMania. I guess if I have to, I'll work Tuesday, but Monday is a no-go for me. Unless they say, well, nobody else can work and we're going to fire you if you don't work, which I don't think that's very likely, but who wants to sit around and think about that stuff, which is the problem that I had today. There was literally nobody else that could work tomorrow. So, I see the calls and I'm like, ugh, I don't want to do this, but I know what the situation is up there. And I know how it's going to go. So I when you got to work, you got to work. Boy, I came back around to that again, didn't I? I think it's only because, obviously, I'm not thinking about anything else right now, except for this Sunday's WrestleMania card, because I'm actually trying to figure out what my picks are going to be for our conversation. I hope you guys enjoy this WrestleMania conversation. We're going to keep it light, we're going to keep it peppy, and we're going to move things right along. It's going to be a little bit more focused than it otherwise would have been, and I think probably all the better for that. So now what I'm going to do is wrap up this intro and then go ahead and record the outro, get all the audio tracks in place so that I can just drop the meat in once we're done recording, and then go ahead and publish the thing and have it ready to go Friday morning so you guys can all listen to it. Won't that be super? My big concern, and yes, I am going to go back to work for a little bit, because like I said, it's literally all I can think about right now, is that this guy it looks like he's going to be out for a somewhat indefinite amount of time, and there are plans, much like tomorrow when we had plans that I have had to cancel and redo. There are plans coming up. I don't plan my life around. I don't sit by the phone waiting for a call. We do stuff on my days off. We have plans. We do things together as a family, and now I've got to sit here and worry about what are the next, however long this guy is going to be out, which it's looking like probably April at least. How long do I have to sit here and worry about losing days off or changing my schedule for this job that quite frankly does not motivate me to want to go the extra mile ever? I'm sorry, you guys. You don't want to hear all that stuff. But like I said, that's what's up. So now I'm sitting here watching WrestleMania 34, getting hyped up for WrestleMania 35, and it's going to help in just a few minutes when I get Mike and Arian on the line, and we get each other excited for what's getting ready to happen. WrestleMania 35 this Sunday on the WWE Network. So enjoy our look ahead at that. All right, Phantomaniacs, it is time for us to talk WrestleMania here on the Needless Things podcast, and we're going to keep things short and sweet. Well, maybe not all that short, but we're going to have a more concise episode than we would normally have when going into the potentially 26-hour-long showcase of the Immortals. We're going to focus in on very specific things that we're excited about and maybe a couple that we're not so excited about. But the two guys that I wanted to have on this show are our pals. First of all, welcome to the non-live Needless Things podcast, Mr. Arian Gulick.
Hey guys, how's it going?
It's odd to hear your voice not live in the same room.
Yeah, I think the only one I've done that hasn't been a commentary or like a recorded at an event or something was the Evil Dead podcast from forever ago. So,
yeah, because we had a lot of people in different places for that one. It wasn't practical to get together. And then the other third, which if you follow WWE math, shows that we have a 33% chance of winning. The other third of this three-way dance is our pal Mike Gordon. Welcome back.
Howdy.
And
well, I guess it bears out. I mean, I was supposed to be on, and then Vince came out and said that he was actually going to replace me with Noel, and that Noel was going to come in because he's better for ratings. And then Noel got arrested, so I'm like, so yeah, that's why I'm here.
Vince McMahon is a huge mark for Noel Wood. That's absolutely true.
I'm sure he is. Because it's certainly not the other way around.
He's a huge mark for him, but he just doesn't know how to book a show to please Noel to save his life. It's just sad.
These things are all true. Okay, so we're going to get down to the brass thumbtacks, as it were, and we're going to discuss specific things that we're excited about. We're going to do kind of a round robin where we'll go around and discuss an aspect of WrestleMania that we think has maybe not even necessarily been booked all that well, but that we're looking forward to for Sunday. And then later on in the show, as we sometimes do, we'll talk about only one thing that has been disappointing or that we feel they've really shit the bed with. And I would like to start with Mike Gordon. What are you looking forward to this Sunday?
I was reading an article the other day, and I never know whether to believe these wrestling pieces or not. Half of them are just, false. But it basically said that this is legit, like behind the scenes. This is the most haphazard, unorganized WrestleMania that's ever been in existence,
and it shows.
It feels that way for sure. And some of it, I do kind of lean towards the WWE, and I sort of have some sympathy for, because there's been a lot of things that have changed. Probably, like, look, if this was the card that is in front of us, the 15 matches and whatnot that's in front of us, if you had told us this was the card a year ago, we would have thought you were crazy and on drugs.
Right.
There is just a lot of stuff on here that makes no sense. And they've had to try to make it make sense with a very limited amount of time. But I'm going to steal probably everybody's thunder. But, I mean, the fact of the matter is that the one thing I'm looking forward to is the main event, the final highlight of the night, the match between Raw champion Ronda Rousey and SmackDown champion Charlotte Flair and the man Becky Lynch. I have made it very clear through every fiber of my being that I'm a Becky Lynch fan, and winner, whatever happens, and however they've dropped the ball, like, this is something that they have worked on story-wise for a while. This shouldn't not have been a problem for them as far as, like, telling this story in the last few months, since Royal Rumble, and yet they've managed to have some really, like, high peaks and some really, like, low lows telling this story. But I think ultimately the match itself, I have no question that these three women, these three wrestlers have the talent to give us something amazing to end the show. So that's going to be the highlight of the night for me, I think. I hope.
What were you going to say, Arian?
I was going to say, for sure, like Becky and Charlotte's the last woman standing match from Evolution last year's. It's my favorite women's match, and it's like up there on my list of favorite matches overall. I think the like in a microcosm just existing by itself, the Brock Daniel Bryan match from Survivor Series is better, but it also didn't mean as much.
Right.
Because there was no real build up to it. Bryan won the title like 5 days before it happened. But that's how good Daniel Bryan is. We'll get to that later.
Yeah, I'm super stoked about this main event. Becky and Ronda are two of my favorite people on the roster. Like, not two of my favorite women, two of my favorite performers on the whole roster. I love everything that they've done. I can't believe how far Ronda has come and how fast. And Becky is. I mean, all three of us have been on the Becky bandwagon for a very long time now, and it's great to see her getting her due. So I'm stoked. This is the main event, and it's going to deliver. And whatever the outcome is, it doesn't, because of the way they've set this match up, there isn't really a potentially bad outcome unless WWE really does something way out of left field, like have wait. Unless WWE has something really left field happen, like Stephanie comes out and pins all three at the same time and has.
I am to the point where I think Becky has to win, or I'm going to start getting bored with her character again. Honestly,
I am with you, but at the same time, all three women. There are potential good scenarios for all three winning, and I'm willing to sort of go along with, because look,
if it wasn't the last match of the night, I would agree with you. But I feel like if the end of the pay-per-view is anything other than Becky holding up both titles, people are going to be pissed.
I agree.
And I think it's going to be pissed not in a constructive way. Where, I want to see what happens to this person now. Like, they spent 2 months making her, like, just get suspended and limp around on crutches.
Which was horrible.
Yeah, it stole a lot of the thunder from, like, the angle that she'd worked hard to build up.
Well, everything I guess...
Not everything. Like, some of the things that they've done, like, the ridiculous schmoz on Monday was, like... It's sometimes when they do, like... sports entertaining stuff like that would have like been right at home, like in the Attitude Era. And
I thought that was fantastic. I thought it was great
I loved it for what it was.
It reinvigorated me as far as my interest in the match, because over the last few months WWE has done everything in their power to make me not give a shit about this match. From Ronda's weak sauce heel turn to just jobbing Asuka out in the worst way possible.
I still disagree with like that decision. Like, I don't like if you were doing it to have it be that like whoever takes the pinfall loses their title and like pinning Becky gets you nothing, then like, and have it be where all four of the original NXT horsewomen stand on the stage at the end of WrestleMania with a title, then I can kind of understand it, but that's not even what they're doing.
No, it's not. And even that would be so contrived because the heat between Becky and Charlotte at this point is too much for that to have really been reasonable. But yeah, WWE has just shit the bed over and over, not just with this story, but many others. But before we get to the negative things, we want to focus on the positive, so
this is true.
We can hopefully create a nice sandwich.
You know me, and like I like to complain, but like wrestling
get right out of town.
No, wrestling is actually like wrestling and Star Trek are like two things that I don't want to complain about. I don't want to have to engage the part of my brain that thinks critically. I'm just like, I'm here to be a consumer. I want you to give me, to quote Big Dave Batista, give me what I want.
Which, by the way, I loved that promo.
No, that was the best episode of Raw in forever.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it was just like Roman came back and the Shield fist bumped and Batista showed up randomly and beat the shit out of Ric Flair on his birthday celebration. No, I don't know why anyone tries to have a birthday party in WWE.
At the very least, they're going to get a cake in the face.
Right.
So let's move on. I think we're all pretty much in agreement that main event is something to be excited about, something unique. And the fact that it is 3 women in the main event it is remarkable and noteworthy, and it's not just WWE going with the times, although that is certainly part of it.
No,
it's
they are
that
into this.
These women are legit some of the biggest superstars ever.
Yeah. I am confident in all 3 of them, their ability to, and that match, that little spot on Monday proves it. You can have these 3 ask them to do ridiculous things, and yet they can make it work. They are outstanding. They are legit 3 of the best, personalities, best workers, best talent that this company has.
Well,
so
and as far as being part of the women's division, I think they also recognize and appreciate the stakes in a way that very few female competitors ever have,
and rise up to those stakes.
Yes, absolutely.
They're not afraid to have the big matches and to make history.
So Arian, let's get over to you, and obviously the big one is out of the way now. So what is sort of the secondary thing that you're excited about coming up on Sunday?
I'm actually more excited for this one.
Okay.
I'm still very much excited for the Becky Charlotte Ronda match, but I think that they completely lucked into the Daniel Bryan Kofi thing.
Sure.
And for a while I was annoyed, but the way that they ended up having him get securing the title shot last week was actually the best way of going about doing it. So adding another layer of fuckery to get to the point where Kofi secures his title shot because of his friends, because the New Day is such a big part of who Kofi is and what he does in WWE, that not having them be involved would have, in retrospect, it would have made the journey feel weirder. It feels right to me that they were involved in getting him to the promised land, as it were. But anything Daniel Bryan has done since turning heel has been complete and utter gold.
Well, and even this past Tuesday on SmackDown, him just sitting in that chair talking was more entertaining than 90% of what happened on SmackDown or Raw.
Right.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing. What bothers me so much is that I think that some of the people that they're trying to promote, look at the people who are in singles matches, and I think that shows you who they're serious about.
Sure.
Do I think that Lashley and Corbin and McIntyre are just completely worthless? No. I think they could be good mid-card, upper mid-card main event heels, but the way that their characters are now is so make me interested in a character, and that's what Daniel Bryan's so good at. He's I agree with a lot of the dumb political stuff that he's saying, but he's so obnoxious about it that I hate him.
You're right. Well, and that's the thing is when you get to those other guys you were mentioning, and a good portion of WWE's mid-card now, so many of those guys are interchangeable because they really haven't been given an opportunity to do anything interesting, and we don't see them on television in anything other than 4-on-4 tag matches.
Right. And I don't know, who knows how much of the rumors and the scuttlebutt and the whatever that you read out there is true. But one thing that I read in the past year repeatedly, so it makes me give it more credence, is that they don't think they need superstars. To them, the brand is the star.
Sure.
And I really disagree with that, because if that was true, then you could use these guys in an interchangeable way and it would work. And like, for whatever reason, things are not working and they are panicky. And I think it's very obvious that they are not comfortable with the way their product is being received over the past 6 months or so.
Yeah, and that is true. Although, all the McMahons came out a few months ago, whenever it was.
Right, and then they said we were the authority.
Well,
and then they proceeded to not give us what we want.
And the thing is that nothing has really. If anything, things are worse now than they were a few months ago, and that's bad because they were really bad. They're definitely
worse on SmackDown. Like, Paige was potentially the only good GM in history.
Well, the only reason Paige is out, though, is because she was promoting that movie. I'm sure they have plans for her post WrestleMania, but we'll see.
I hope so. But the Daniel Bryan Kofi match is like, the build to it has been really well done. Like I said, I thought having Big E and Woods win him the shot was a really nice touch, because of like what he means to the New Day and what the New Day means to him.
Well, and it was smart because to those of us who have been around for a while, Kofi already has plenty of value, which is what has been demonstrated on television. But I do think it was very smart to make him go. And I hated it while it was happening, but in retrospect, like you said, I recognize that within the context of current WWE storylines, they really did need to put a little more on him to make this WrestleMania worthy. And him having to overcome all of this was a great way to do it. And yes, including New Day. I never want them to break up, and I don't feel like there's any reason for them to ever break up. They can pursue singles accomplishments while still being a group.
Right.
What about you, Mike? How do you feel about the Kofi Bryan scenario?
What I love about it, and it's much like the match we just the main event that we talked about, is that in both cases you have someone like Kofi Kingston, you have someone Becky Lynch, who they were not in the plans for WrestleMania this year, and because of fan support, because of who they are as talent, as who they are as people, as who they are as characters, they got over, and the establishment really had to pay attention and honor that. And I think that, and it's going to pay off. I think in both cases it's going to pay off. I've heard behind the scenes that Daniel Bryan wanted to work with Kofi, but the perception out there, of course, is that it was an accident. If Mustafa Ali hadn't gotten hurt, then it would be him in this position and not Kofi, or at least somebody else in this position and not Kofi.
Yeah.
But the fact that they get to tell this story and reflect it, like it's a reflection on how Daniel won the belt, a few years ago, sometimes when the WWE gets it right, it's kind of scary. It's like, oh my God, like how did they've handled this really well. And I think that, yes, I think that if, we said before, if Becky doesn't win, the crowd riots. And if Kofi doesn't win, my God, is there even going to be a main event? Because the crowd will go nuts.
I feel like they'll go nuts, but I also feel like the crowd, I think that Kofi should win. I think that he should have a couple month-long cup of tea with the title to help cement his legacy, and just because he's a good worker. And I enjoy him.
I think it's a great opportunity for them too. You can get a belt made of pancakes. It would be awesome.
That's what I was going to say. Like if he does win, he needs to come out on Tuesday with like a unicorn Bootio pancake belt. That Mr. Bootyworth presents to him.
That's too much of a merchandising opportunity for them to pass up, I think.
That's what I was thinking. I mean, if sales of New Day material has like gone down or dipped a little bit, this is like the perfect thing to like rise it back up.
Yeah. Well, and they've already got Kofi Mania shirts up on the website, so that's great. Anyway,
but I'm happy. I'm really happy for Kofi to be in this position. And again, this is one where if you told us this was going to be a main event like a year ago, we would have been like, wait, what, Daniel Bryan can wrestle? And then we would have been like, what? Kofi?
Yeah,
what?
right.
Well, like you can ask Dave, like when Bryan turned heel and like I said, like once he started doing the whole like Captain Planet thing, I'm like, they should feud him with the New Day. Like I didn't say Kofi specifically.
You were right on top of that.
But I'm like they're like consumers number one, and they're also fun, and they're also all great workers. So like they could all like take turns having great matches against Bryan. And I thought at the time that you would build to Big E versus Bryan just because that would be really interesting. But I mean, Kofi, it works better in retrospect. The way that they've told this has worked out really well. So
I'm really
very
curious
pleased
to see where this is going to be on the card.
It's.
I wonder if it might open.
Wow.
Nah, I think that this will probably be third from last. I think I think that you'll sandwich Bork and Seth in between this and the women's match.
I'm sticking with guessing that it's going to open the show, the main card.
That's Well,
cool. That's great if Kofi wins. If Kofi doesn't win, that's a bold move.
It's a bold move, Cotton.
Yeah, that's. I don't know about that.
So, but yeah, again, we're all three in agreement. This is fantastic. Daniel Bryan and Kofi Kingston, really everything they're involved with is pretty much gold, and I think it's because, in their own weird way, New Day and Bryan both have more say in what they do than most superstars have, and I think that's very telling that you can kind of look and see who gets to choose their destiny a bit more, or at least their presentation a bit more. And also, we're going to do plenty of complaining about WWE as we talk here. And like Mike said, we have to give them credit for what they've done with Becky and with Kofi, because so many times in the past, we've seen things like this that WWE has sort of squashed, and this time they've gone along with it, and it's providing some of the best stuff on television right now.
Well, look at where Braun Strowman is.
Right. Exactly.
I don't know who he pissed off or what he's done, but
are you trying to say being in a feud with the SNL guys is not a prestigious spot to be in?
Yes, that is in fact what I'm saying.
Well, I think you're right. All right, so for my first thing that I'm excited about, I am really looking forward to look. Kurt Angle is one of the greatest athletes in the history of professional wrestling, and there is no better opponent for him at WrestleMania than Baron Corbin. I'm sorry, I couldn't even get through that without laughing.
Wow!
I knew you were lying because clearly what you're excited about is Bobby Lashley.
Well, we all are, but I mean, I figured we wanted to leave that for Mike's second pick.
I'm sorry, Mike.
No, actually, the thing that I'm excited about is a recent development, and that is the fact that the Usos are going to be part of the show. They are the SmackDown Tag Champions. Yeah. They are in my opinion, they are the best tag team working in wrestling today. They've been excellent for a very long time, and I know not everybody loved the babyface Usos, but to me, they always delivered. They did exactly what they went out there to do. They sold a shit ton of merch back then, the face paint and everything. Like, they had a look that was very, very TV pro wrestler friendly. I've been a huge fan of these guys for a long time, and I was furious that they did not have a match on the card. And now, as of Tuesday night, not only do they have a match, but it's likely to be one of the best work rate matches on the card given enough time, because it's the Usos versus the Bar versus Rico Black, or two black guys, depending on how you want to refer to them.
Two black guys.
And Nakamura Rusev. And let me just tell you, those 8 guys in a ring together is going to be freaking phenomenal.
Yeah, as long as they get 15 to 20 minutes
Right,
at least.
and I think they will. Now, unfortunately, it may not be on the main card. It could be in the pre-show. We don't know how that's going to line up yet. But,
I feel like the pre-show is going to be the 2 battle royals.
Yep. Yeah, the 2 battle royals and the Cruiserweight Championship are going to be on the pre-show.
Oh, I didn't know they had announced anything for sure. Okay, well, good. That is great news because all of those guys deserve to be on the main card, even the rookies. But, man, the Usos just they deserve it, man. They deserve a big WrestleMania moment, and I'd love to see them retain. But after WrestleMania, what the heck do you do with these guys? They've done everything. I mean, I feel like they've got to go to Raw for fresh competition. But anyway, I'm super stoked about this match. I love the Usos, and I'm glad they're getting their WrestleMania moment. What about you guys? How do you feel about this one?
I'm super excited about it. Also, the Usos, they just announced today, signed a new 5-year contracts. So
excellent. Good. Because
they're going to be around.
I don't want to have to watch AEW.
No, they're going to put on some barn burners with the Young Bucks, man. Come on.
Stop.
Those guys are your second favorite tag team. I know it.
I am not going to a super kick party.
I agree with everything you just said, and I love the Usos myself. And the other talent in this ring for this match, this would be a great opening match, to be honest with you. I think.
Yeah.
And I'm going to add to that by saying that I am super excited for Ricochet and Black to make their WrestleMania debut here. I loved on SmackDown their reaction to realizing they get to go to WrestleMania and be in WrestleMania.
Yes.
I thought that was a really nice touch. Their story has been awesome. If they walk away, I mean, this could be part of a big weekend for them if they walk away with the belts. I don't know if they will or not. It doesn't really matter. I mean, this is going to be entertaining in either way. But I think that these guys are just at the beginning of their main roster career, and I'm really happy for them.
Well, the wild thing is that Black and Ricochet are competing for the NXT tag titles at TakeOver.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I don't know, and I got to say this. You guys know, the listeners probably aren't really aware of this, but you guys know that I haven't been a huge fan of Aleister Black, but I feel like since his main roster call up and since teaming with Ricochet, he seems like a completely different worker to me.
When he came back from his injury, he seems like he's like moving faster and like has more focus. Maybe he just needed like a couple months off to like rest and heal up, but like in-ring stuff looks like it flows better and is faster and is more believable. And I think he's putting more effort into his promos. I don't know. He's still got some dumb tattoos, but
well, who among us doesn't? Oh wait.
Yeah. So, but like, no, I will agree. Like I always liked him before. He wasn't my favorite, but like he's taken a step up since he's returned, and especially since he started pairing up with Ricochet, and it's noticeable. I do think I'm not spoiling anything because I don't fucking know, but I do think they'll probably split them up, send one to Raw and one to SmackDown after WrestleMania, unless they decide to keep them together as a tag team. But I think like there's money to be made for both of them in various singles feuds that would probably help.
I agree with you.
What is the likelihood, do you think, and I'm just putting this out there, what is the likelihood that they get the belts on NXT, they get the SmackDown belts on Sunday, and then on Raw, they face the Revival again for the Raw belts, and they get those?
And then on SmackDown, they pin Carmella, and they challenge Bayley and Sasha.
And then they have a 7-second dance break.
No, then on SmackDown, with all three tag titles, they have a handicap match against Shane McMahon, and he pins them
and lose it all,
and becomes
because He's the best in the world.
That's right.
He is the best in the world.
So Shane becomes the NXT, Raw, and SmackDown Tag Team Champions.
So what you're saying is there's a chance.
Exactly.
And we'll move. I've got to save that one. I can't talk about that now. So that match is going to be badass. That's one, when we're watching things as a group, as we will be on Sunday, there are some matches that you kind of are watching out of the corner of your eye. We're having conversations. This is a match where I think everybody in the room is going to be sitting there watching this match happen.
For sure. It's going to, because it's going to be, hopefully they'll book it to just be like a balls to the wall, like super fast paced.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a lot of downtime.
No, this is going to be insane. There's so many people.
Yeah, considering who you've got involved with it.
Yeah.
There's not much. There's no real reason to.
They don't have enough cameras to cover this match.
Yeah,
man, you're just about right.
Not with Ricochet flying around like a lunatic. So it's going to be great. I can't imagine anybody being bored during this match. Like, don't use your piss break for this match when there's a Roman Drew McIntyre match that's going to go at least 20 minutes and involve a bunch of rest holds. So,
so let's.
I'm actually looking forward to that match.
Let's bring it back around to Mike Gordon. What is thing number 2 that you are excited for?
Okay, so the tag team match was going to be my number 2. But since we've already talked about that, I will go down to my number 3, which, to be honest with you, it's like spacebar, spacebar, spacebar. Like there's like a lot of like a lot of leeway between like those 3 things that we just talked about and the rest of the card. Now, I will say the one that's probably got my curiosity piqued the most is the Brock Lesnar-Seth Rollins match. I'm a big Seth Rollins fan, and I didn't get a chance to see the Brock Lesnar-Daniel Bryan match from last year, so I still haven't watched that, so I'm hoping for good things here. I think it was pretty, when it was announced originally, when Seth won the Royal Rumble, I think we all thought, wow, he's going to go take the title from Brock. And then Roman came back. Yeah. And the atmosphere around this match has changed significantly. Now, is it because Roman's back? I don't know, but boy, that sounds like it seems like the WWE feels that the only person capable of beating Brock Lesnar is Roman Reigns. So I don't like Seth's chances to winning this match at all. I think this will be probably the second to last match on the card. And I think Brock will win. A lot of people will be surprised, disappointed. Seth Rollins will come and hang his head in shame on Monday and say, I'm sorry I let you guys down. He can take it. And I don't know what you do with him after that, but I'm hoping that Brock can bring his A game to WrestleMania and put on a good solid match, and that's what I'm hoping for in this.
I think Seth is going to be put over by surviving Brock. I think it's going to be as competitive a match as we've seen, probably. As far as one of Brock's big money matches goes.
Mm-hmm.
But, I just... And look, I'll give Seth Rollins a lot of credit. I never cared for him as a babyface, but over the past several months, he has really been on fire. I almost wish the Shield stuff had not happened because I felt like he was really getting into a groove on his own prior to that.
That with Roman coming back with the Shield stuff, and then the last few promos he's cut have just been too over the top in terms of I'm doing it for you guys and all this stuff, and I'm like, ugh.
He had found a spot that wasn't that gushing baby face, but was the guy you could get behind, and was doing it really well, and I feel like he actually got sidetracked a little bit, but I think this will be an interesting match, but I don't know that it's even in my top 5 of things I'm excited for. on Sunday.
Yeah, like I'm interested in it, but I feel like this is going to be one where like it's going to like the quote unquote bad guy is going to walk away victorious, because I also feel like they're probably putting over Becky. They might put over Kofi, and like that's too like
right. It's too many.
You're right.
It's too many happy endings.
Yeah.
Like, if Ray beats Joe, if that match even happens, because supposedly Corbin fucked up Ray's ankle on Monday. I don't know if that's a work. I don't know if that's a work or not, but
I'm not enthused about Ray versus Joe at all, and I should be, because Ray has been doing a great job, and Joe's still one of the best ever. But that,
I think it'll be a solid match, but it's got nothing behind it.
Yeah.
Right? I wish that they had done Joe versus the artist formerly known as Mustafa Ali.
Yes.
Because wrestling fans can't remember that many syllables in a name.
Oh my gosh,
so.
that's so dumb.
Yes. So anyway,
What is your item number 2?
So
on Arian's giddy list.
Well, like 1A was Bryan and Kofi, 1B was the women's match, but surprisingly a solid 2. And like the way that I try and judge stuff, especially for WrestleMania, is like try to look at stories they've been telling for a while, that like they've established compelling reasons for why people are the way that they are and why they're doing what they're doing, and like combined with, can they put on an entertaining match? And for me, I'm actually interested in watching The Miz versus Shane McMahon.
Yeah,
like I think it's going to be it's going to be a Shane spot fest, especially with the stipulation. But they've put in the legwork. I mean, going back to like October, November with Crown Jewel, with the stupid Best in the World tournament. So like it's been a progression of months of storytelling paying off, and as opposed to Ray pinned Joe 3 weeks ago, so he gets a match at Mania.
Yeah. This is an earned match.
Yeah, and honestly, like, I'm not going to buy it forever, but like fiery white meat babyface Miz is kind of fun.
Well, and also, not only is the story between Shane and Miz earned, but they've been planting the seeds for babyface Miz for a long time. I actually had forgotten this. I have last year's WrestleMania playing in the background while we talk, and Miz was in that opening 3-way Intercontinental match, and he sent the Miztourage backstage because he wanted to do it on its own. And I remember we all at the time were like, wow, is Miz turning face? And since then, it has been a little bit at a time. They've been going towards that with, again, Daniel Bryan's unexpected return being sort of a road bump. But now Project Babyface Miz is in full effect, and it's totally working.
Yeah, it's totally working, and I feel like you can maybe build towards, like, by SummerSlam, maybe, if, like, Bryan wins the title back, or if he just keeps it. But, like, you could build towards a Miz-Bryan match.
Oh, I think they have to. I think
where the roles are flipped.
Yes.
And it would be more entertaining, because the quote-unquote payoff we got from that feud last year was not satisfying. Mainly because it involved Brie and Maurice for one of the matches. So
yeah. I when we did our Royal Rumble episode, and you guys were saying that the team has to break up. The greatest tag team in the world has to break up, with Miz being face and Shane being heel. I was not at all convinced that was going to happen.
That's right.
and yet it's happened, and I'm A, astounded, and B, in addition to like, yay, face Miz is cool, I'd forgotten how good Shane is as a heel.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, this feels way better.
It's like he's a McMahon. Like, there are just certain people, McMahons, Flairs, Bobby Roode, that are natural. They're natural heels. You want to hate them. And when they're booked in a way that like prevents you from just letting nature take its course and hating them, like I should never want to cheer for Charlotte.
Well, yeah,
like,
but Shane
not for like more than like 3 months at a time.
Shane inherited Linda's babyface gene, so that is, he can fulfill that role. But we have to remember, oh yes, he can also be the entitled shit from Connecticut.
Yes.
Remember the Mean Street Posse.
Oh my gosh! If they show up Sunday night, it's going to be the biggest pop of the show.
Pete Gas, Joey Abs,
boy.
All of those guys.
I'm most excited about that match now for the potential Mean Street Posse interference.
It is false count anywhere, so no disqualification.
Oh my gosh! Please let this. But you know what? I think the crowd would pop for them. I don't know that they'd get a
like that crowd, the people who are paying all that money to be there to watch that. That's the sort of dumb shit that like they would be like, oh, we get to cheer this because we're idiots.
I don't know. Maybe we'll see. I'm still excited about the possibility.
Yeah, no, me too.
So my number 2 pick, and I was actually concerned when you started talking that this is the one you were going to go with, because I never in a million years imagined you would pick it, but your description works for this one as well, is the Triple H versus Batista match. I am a huge fan of Batista. I think his match against The Undertaker, I cannot remember which Mania it was, but I think it's one of the best big man matches ever. I think for a large portion of Batista's run, he was very underappreciated when he was actually carrying a lot of the load. And it's another one of those magical things, kind of like Undertaker's streak, in that it's just kind of worked out that way, and now WWE is taking advantage of it. The fact that Triple H just happens to have never beaten Batista. Right. So we have this great history there, and then they take the whole Batista phenomenon from a few years ago, and they've built on that by bringing Big Dave back as a Hollywood shithead heel. We have Triple H with NXT under his belt now, and he's old Papa Hunter who takes care of all the young guys and is giving us, is in this weird way the guy that everybody thinks of as being responsible for the most entertaining content WWE provides right now. And we have this great thing that happens very quickly but is excellent. And I'm so excited. I mean, look, Triple H is one of the greatest of all time, and he can have a wrestling match, he can have a brawl, he can put on a purely sports entertainment spectacle thing. Batista, he's kind of an unknown at this point. We don't know how rusty he might be, but at the same time, it doesn't matter because this is going to be a spectacle. It's not going to be...
It's going to be a spectacle. I hope it doesn't go for more than 12 to 15 minutes.
I don't think it will.
Keep in mind that, yes, Triple H normally would be able to do all of that, and you could book him for whatever, but he did have that injury at Crown Jewel that he's been rehabbing, so he's still probably not at 100%.
But he doesn't need to be at 100%.
He doesn't need to be, but
this match is going to be a big pile of, wow, that was fun. Oh my gosh, look at him doing that. I bet the first 3 minutes of the match are going to be Batista strutting around outside the ring being a douche. I mean, that's just what it's going to be. I think it's going to be so much fun.
I hope so. I hope they don't try and have a 25-minute classic with two guys on the wrong side of 40.
Yeah, doing a
that aren't that can't fucking go because of cardio reasons.
No. That's not going to be an issue. I'm not
I
worried
worry.
about that at all.
I
Well,
worry.
You always worry, though.
Yeah, well, that's my
It's your
gimmick.
thing. It is your gimmick. Mike, how do you feel about this one?
I think they've done a great job leading up to it. The promos on both sides, I think, have been entertaining.
Kiss my ass, Hunter.
Yeah, exactly.
That was great.
And the fact that they put that stipulation in there, Triple H loses, he must retire from in-ring competition. That seems to suggest that Batista will lose, and yet we all know that if Batista wins and Triple H quote unquote retires, they'll just like make up some other excuse. Oh, he's coming out of retirement for this match, so it means nothing. It's just gonna be fun. I hope it leads up to another match in Saudi Arabia in a month or so, and maybe they'll have it'll be 2 out of 3 matches or something like that, so they can continue this. But I hope Batista can go, but even if he can't 100% or even like 70%, Triple H is still, even injured, can carry him.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
So I'm not worried about that at all. So I do think this will be fun.
I would like to point out one thing, though. You know what? No, I'm going to save this for my negative because it's the thing that I'm most angry about that isn't a specific person, because I don't want to sit here and just talk shit about one person.
Wow.
So I think now we have to talk about some of the negatives going into WrestleMania. I wish we had 8 hours to cover everything, but we don't. I'm going to start this one off and say that I think in two of the storylines that are going on right now, the Triple H Batista storyline and Ronda Rousey, they should never, ever, ever have anybody use the dumb shit tactic of, this is real, I'm going to use my real name so this is real, but everything else is fake, but this is real. Because it just takes away it doesn't really affect my enjoyment of anything else going on in WWE, but it takes away the credibility in that moment of that performer, because we all know they're going to go on to have a fake fighting match. It's just the dumbest. There's no words to describe what a ass backwards way it is to go about trying to build a storyline. It's just stupid.
I agree.
And the thing here, and that's the thing, is Ronda came out and was like, "Oh, this is I'm going to break kayfabe. This is fake fighting." And then they filmed that utterly ridiculous police thing Monday night that I loved. But the whole time I was watching that, I was like, "So is this real, Ronda Rousey?"
Yeah,
exactly. And we know it's not. It's dumb.
Right? It's like because if you believe that, if this is real, then all of a sudden everything else that's not this isn't real. So if you say that, like, you're stoked for Kofi Kingston and Daniel Bryan, but the only things that are real are Batista and Hunter and the women's match.
You're devaluing the rest of the card.
Right. Like you're automatically a fucking Rube and a Mark for being excited about anything else.
Well, and we also
if you accept that this is real and the other shit isn't.
We also know that Kofi's isn't real because a few years ago New Day did the same thing in the ring, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but they went on SmackDown and cut some promo about how this isn't our characters talking, this is real. And I hated it then too, as much as I love New Day. I thought it was terrible.
Right. It's something that they like. There are ways to break the fourth wall in the wrestling business, and like this is not one of them. Like doing goofy Deadpool shit,
right,
works better than this. You can have shit like with like a serious overtone to it, and like make it like look real, and like say like. Do like fucked up shit, but
for an example,
don't tell me that like this is real and the other shit isn't.
Here's
then
an
I feel
example.
Like a fucking moron.
Here's an example of
the other stuff.
Here's an example of how to do that sort of thing. Was the Matt Hardy and Edge feud over Lita?
Yeah.
When Matt Hardy ran out, fired Matt Hardy, ran out, attacked Edge. Nobody said, oh, it's Matt Hardy and this is real and he's interrupting this fake angle. Like, they just let it happen and organically. And I'll tell you, even knowing the business at that point, I was questioning, like, wait a minute. Did Matt Hardy really just run out, beat the shit out of Edge, and then say, hey, you can find me on Ring of Honor? Because that's what happened. And it was crazy. But nobody cut a promo about everything else being fake.
Right?
Yeah, in this day and age of kayfabe, and they are struggling still with trying to find that balance, trying to find having their cake and eat it too. And yeah, I agree with you completely. Like, I think it undermines, I mean, it's just like, if you were watching James Bond and James Bond was like, all of a sudden he like just stopped the action and just turned to the camera and was like, I really hate that guy.
Right.
And I'm gonna go bust his nose, not because he's the bad guy and it's scripted, just because I want to,
Because I actually hate Christoph Waltz.
Exactly. And it's like, okay, so are we supposed to now feel better about you punching him in the nose?
Right,
like,
right.
Like, I don't, it's stupid.
Now I just feel upset about it.
Yeah.
This is
uncomfortable.
I
do like the fact that on the one hand, Ronda's doing all that stuff, but on the other hand, Charlotte and Becky, who I think, are still really good friends, have really backed off that on social media over the last few months.
Yeah, they
and
have.
Good for them for doing that.
Yeah. And that's important. And actually, I'll say this, that was one of my big complaints over the past 18 months, 24 months or so, is the social media bullshit. But I feel like, in general, wrestlers are being a little better about not being buddies on Instagram and Twitter or whatever. Like, I feel like they're actually starting to use that format to further the feuds and stuff. I don't know if there was a company-wide sort of edict of, hey, guys, stop putting up pictures of yourselves together. But I do feel like they're starting to use social media in a way that's very effective with the storylines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Mike Gordon, what's pissing you off?
Oh, me, oh, my. There's some obvious things, but I'm going to go with something that's not on the card. I'm going to go with the fact that Asuka's Asuka's reign came to a screeching halt. Now, I get it. Story-wise, they just couldn't figure out a story to tell with Asuka, so they decided that it made more sense to have Flair have the belt, which actually it does. But if they could have done so in a way without burying one of their best talents, and shame on them for not being able to come up with a good story for Asuka. In fact, I don't think they've known what to do with her since WrestleMania last year.
They haven't at all.
And it's a shame because she's so good. People love her. And I think, she could do a heel turn and it would be amazing. And people would still be attracted to wanting to watch her. But if you just look at the other Royal Rumble winner from last year, Shinsuke, and what they've dropped the ball on him, obviously there's that thing where, Vince and them, if they can't speak English, I don't know what to do with them. And you kind of go, you kind of roll your eyes at it. But the fact of the matter is that we shouldn't be having that same conversation anymore.
Well, and what's infuriating,
that shouldn't be the problem. There's some ways that there's so many ways you can get away with it. I love the fact that we've got this historic main event, but you could have had on this card, you could have had just an amazing match between Asuka and another female, but they just didn't devote the time to it or the energy or find the right person, which is a shame and actually a crime because there's so many other talented women on there that they could have done something with, and yet they just dropped the ball completely.
Yeah, and that builds into my complaint, which is that like they are really shit at managing their talent. Like they're bad about building up characters that you want to be interested and invested in. Sometimes when they do start to do that, they'll just abandon it completely. The people that do seem to get pushed, and again, like I think I know why. I think we all know why. It's because this is not actually a multinational corporation that should be publicly traded, because it's still one dude's kingdom, and what he wants goes. And he, like I said earlier, look at the people getting big singles matches. Like, you've got, just on the Raw side, not so much like the SmackDown side with Joe and Ray and AJ and Randy, but you've got the three members of what I call the Locus of Suck, which is the mid-card quagmire that is pulled down Raw over the past 6 to 9 months. You've got Corbin against Angle, you've got Lashley against Balor, and you've got McIntyre against Roman. And I think that of those three, I think that McIntyre could potentially be, with the right kind of fucking booking and character work, he could be a potential main eventer. I know Dave is bored with him. But
I'm sorry. I fell asleep as soon as you said Drew McIntyre.
Yes. I understand. And I think that Lashley is actually, over the past couple months, has been a serviceable mid-card heel. But, it's like the stupid fucking Mean Girls movie where they're like, stop trying to make fetch happen. It's never going to happen. These three guys are just big generic dudes, and that's the kind of they're big generic mean dudes. That's their character. Who cares? Who the fuck cares? You know who's got an interesting character that you don't fucking use for anything, that would be a hilarious and awesome and believable heel that people would just line up to boo?
No way, Jose.
No, Tyler Breeze. A fucking full of himself.
But he's tiny.
Yeah, so he can't obviously he's of no use to anyone. If you're not large enough and you don't speak English well enough, there's no use for you.
Well,
it's just it's mind blowing to me, and it's discouraging. And I feel and again, who knows, but judging from the social media response and the rumors backstage, no one, yes, there was really nothing for Asuka, but no one, the roster by and large seems to be not happy that she got done that way.
Well, from what I understand, the original plans for Asuka, there was going to be a 4-way women's match to determine who was going to challenge her at WrestleMania. The winner was going to be Mandy Rose, which, look, that's not a very exciting match, but here's the problem.
No.
Is all of those lumps you just described that have no character whatsoever. Asuka may not speak the best English in the world, but she is a character. Shinsuke Nakamura is a character.
Right.
And
no, they're compelling
not out
to watch.
There. Yeah, that they are. Everything that they do is visually interesting, regardless of whether or not they can speak the Queen's English properly. And
Asuka screaming in Japanese is way more interesting to me than anything Bobby Lashley is ever going to fucking say in his life.
Yeah, that's absolutely
not just,
correct.
No disrespect to Bobby Lashley.
Oh, I have a lot of disrespect for Bobby Lashley. I'll go there.
Sure.
But also, and someone was like, "Oh, they're going to have Asuka win the Battle Royale." I'm like, "Don't do that. Don't just give her that just as some sort of Cupid doll."
Give that to Mandy. Have Mandy eliminate Sonya. Here's my thing is if you're gonna do something, have it mean something. Who won the women's battle royal last year? Do you remember? It was Naomi. She was supposed to get a title shot out of it. She never did. It's bullshit. If you're gonna have them, it's okay to throw all these people into a big dumb match.
I agree because I want
to get them on the show.
I want everybody to get their WrestleMania payday.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
Although wasn't there
some
controversy though, where if you're on the pre-show, you don't get a part of the home media money. That's what it is.
Yeah, sure. Which is stupid because if I got it on home media, I'd want the pre-show stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't understand how that works.
Yeah, I don't either, but that was one of Austin Aries' big problems. One of his many big
the
problems.
business plan of the WWE's does not always make sense.
We've got to wrap this thing up, but I do want to end on a positive note because overall, I think we're very excited about watching this event. It's going to be fun. It's going to be, WrestleMania, even the worst WrestleManias are a fun time when you're watching them live. So out of the remaining matches, I want us each to just sort of name one of the matches that you're looking forward to out of the ones that we have not already covered. Mike, we're going to bring it back around to you.
All right. Surprisingly, with the so limited time, the last two SmackDowns, they've managed to make the AJ Randy Orton match pretty exciting, actually. I think pretty interesting. If they had a little bit more time to work with it, it could be really, the build could be really good. But I really liked their segment on SmackDown the other night. And they've managed to, AJ can, we all know he can work with a broomstick, and Randy's just a little bit more capable than that. So I think that will be a fun match to watch.
Arian, what about you?
Watching the RKA from out of nowhere on that is going to be hugely entertaining. One more thing real quick, and then I'll go to something that I find is entertaining. It's cool that the women are main eventing the show, but it kind of sucks that the only women's match, there's only going to be 2 women's matches on the show, and out of 15 matches total.
Yes. Yes.
I would, and again, a lot of that goes back to the thing with Asuka. I understand why they chose not to do something with her. It's because they didn't have anybody, but that's on you because you're using your other top 2 SmackDown stars to feud with the Raw champ. So
you had months to build something.
Well, the Riot Squad easily should have had a WrestleMania match.
No, yeah, and the way that they've been treated the past several weeks sucks too. Yeah. We won't get into it. It's fine, whatever. The cruiserweight match is going to be great if you like the flippy kiki. I like the flippy kiki. This one's going to be less flippy kiki than most of them because it's Buddy Murphy versus Tony Nese, and Tony Nese's gimmick is that he's air traffic control, and he doesn't play that flippy kiki shit. But Buddy Murphy's great. Tony Nese is great. That's going to be a great match. I know it's not the main show, but I'm very excited for TakeOver on Friday. Every single match on that is going to be incredible. Yes. Dave, did you catch up with last week's TakeOver? Or have you not watched it yet?
No, I'm caught up to last week. This week, okay. I don't know if I'm going to have a chance to watch it. And honestly, I'm not even sure I'm going to be able to watch TakeOver until Monday. But we'll see.
But the single greatest moment in the history of our sport happened on last week's TakeOver, which is when Velveteen Dream interrupted Matt Riddle's match.
Yes,
by being borne out onto stage. Reclining on a couch by 2 women,
and
sipping from a chalice.
Specifically, though, his reaction to Riddle taking his chalice, was outstanding.
No, it was anything the Velveteen Dream touches turns to gold. So,
all right, so we got to wrap it up.
Gonna be great.
My thing that I'm excited about, since we've cut away every other exciting thing at WrestleMania. So I'm actually going to say I am excited to see Lashley versus Balor. It's an Intercontinental Championship match, which is traditionally one of the work rate foundations of WrestleMania. And I got to say, look, Lashley, opinions vary on the guy, but he has delivered in the past at the big shows. And I think Lashley versus Balor is going to be a really intense, fast-paced, explosive match. I'm not into his face paint demon bullshit that they really haven't even given him a good reason to bust out at WrestleMania. But one of the first buzzworthy things we started hearing about WrestleMania was that there was going to be a huge entrance for the Demon this year. So I'm excited about that too. So I'm actually looking forward to that. And there we go. That is all the time we've got to talk about WrestleMania 35. But before we go, Arian and Mike, where can we find you guys online, and what are you up to? Let's start with Arian.
You can find me online on Instagram at suchalazyman.com.
Which you evidenced. You evidenced the accuracy of that username today. By mentioning the needless commentary, but not posting a link to it.
I did. Listen, you got to commit to the gimmick.
You got to stay on brand.
If there's one thing that Sabu ever taught me, it's that you got to commit to the gimmick. So.
Mike Gordon, what are you up to? Where can we find you online?
Well, you can find me, of course, on the Earth Station 1 podcast every week, but I also have to let everybody know that for my new issue of Tiki Zombie, I'm starting a Kickstarter, which should be active in the next week or so, so look for that. All you have to do is search me out on social media or go to tikizombie.net, and you can find out all the details about that.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming on, talking about WrestleMania, and I'm looking forward to Sunday. We'll see what happens.
Word up.
And...
Awesome.
Awesome. Hey, you guys. Sorry I complained about work so much in the intro. That was not my intent, but what are you going to do? So I hope you enjoyed that conversation. I haven't even heard it yet. Huh? Isn't that crazy? Oh, technology. So I'm tried to fiddle around with my recorder to see if there was any way I could record it directly off of Skype, but that doesn't seem possible, so I'll have to do my normal Skype conversation recorded with the Immortals call recorder, which I don't give enough credit. That thing works great. I love it. I've had a couple of problems with it over the years, but for the most part, it's awesome. So if you record your conversations over Skype, that Immortals call recorder is great. It's the way to go as far as I'm concerned, as far as free call recorders go. Although I tried Pamela for a little while too, and I did the free trial, and Immortals was better, so I certainly did not sign up to pay for Pamela. What else is happening next week? I'm also a little concerned about needless commentaries because my schedule, everybody's schedule, is still kind of jacked up. I hope we can find time for it, and if not, I do have content ready. So, no. Next week is Game of Thrones. Me and Beth have a conversation about Game of Thrones in preparation for the final season. This is it, you guys. Season 8 is the end. I don't know what I'm going to do. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit and I'm going to watch all 8 seasons of Game of Thrones just over and over again until something almost as good comes along, because there'll never be anything better. Just like you guys. There'll never be anything better than you guys. I love you guys.
Thank you for listening to the Needless Things podcast. You're the best. You can find the show on iTunes, Stitcher, Downcast, or in the ears of a Trader Vic's employee. Love you. Mean it. Uh-huh.